So she did real well. Let's see here. Then she did really well. All fertile. And she did really well. I'm just kidding. Whoa! See, that one there has been rolled over. I don't know when. I'm going to take the risk and put it back where it was because it looked like it was there a while. As you guys saw, she wrestled me. She was not very happy about me stealing her eggs. God, I just can't believe snakes these days. Jeez. They don't even let me steal their eggs without getting an attitude. Man, don't they know they'll be on welfare anyway? Okay, let's see here. So I try to leave them unconnected if I can. Well, there you go. Look at that. I'm not 100% positive, but I think she was bred to a... Tim's out lobster fishing today. I think she was bred to a motley albino. Not 100% sure. Tim is. This wasn't one of the special snakes that I had plans for. She made a mess on that egg. Nice clutch. Not huge, but as good as it gets. As good as she was going to lay. She's a mainland. About 4 years old. As you saw, she wasn't real big. She laid 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22 eggs. Most people don't realize it, but if you take a mainland, you feed it once a week, something about the size of it, of the middle of it, and you feed, don't get crazy on your food. You take your time, and you're not in a big hurry. The only problem is that it will take them quite a while to get to breeding, maybe 5 years, 4 to 5 years. But you can breed a mainland the same size as a dwarf. A lot of people are just under this false conception that if they buy a mainland, it's going to get as big, it's going to be Twinkie size no matter what you do. But the truth of the matter is, you could probably buy 100 mainlands and you'll never get one the size of Twinkie. And the fact of the matter is that average mainland, if only fed once a week, a meal about the size of its center, is going to take 5 to 10 years to get that size. Not Twinkie size, but to get bigger than maybe 12 feet. And they grow very slow. We have 5-footers that are 5 years old. It's not that big a deal. And so it just depends on their food outlay. I mean, a lot of the dwarf animals that come from even the wild are from years of not having major amounts of food. So most of the dwarf stuff comes from islands where there's limited amount of food, limited amount of resources. So they're just fed slowly. And of course, we, people in general, in captivity, have this conception that snakes go out and eat every 5 minutes and we want to feed them constantly. And of course we're going to be able to make bigger snakes. That's the reason why Twinkie's a bigger snake. She's never had a food supply issue. She's probably fed more than she could ever catch in the wild. And therefore that's why she's a massive snake. So the concept of big and small, of course, I'm not saying that genetics isn't a big deal. Of course, if you have a super dwarf, it's going to be smaller. You can feed a super dwarf a ton of food and it'll never be a Twinkie, obviously. And of course, for you people who don't know what I'm talking about, Twinkie, she's a 350-pound, 23-foot reticulated python. So a super dwarf cross is what we normally sell, and everybody if it's 50% or more, people generally call them whatever they are. So if they're Jampia, they're usually a 50% Jampia unless it says pure Jampia. If they're super dwarf, they're usually 50% super dwarf, or unless they say 100% or 60%. So there's a lot of people don't understand that. So when you're buying a snake, remember to ask what the percentage of super dwarf or dwarf is. And then, like I say, even on those, if you want to keep them tiny, we've had super dwarfs, pure super dwarfs, 6 years, and they were only this big around. Would they bred? Absolutely not. But that animal didn't want to eat a lot. So it takes a lot of food to make a snake big. So if you want to get a mainland and you're not scared of a 6 or 8 foot snake, it's going to take many years to get past that. So unless you feed it a lot. So anyway, you got to feed your snake once a week. So don't be starving your snakes. Just feed them a small meal. And they do fantastic. You can't tell the difference from a 5-year-old fed once a week or a that's 5 feet long or a 5 foot long 3-month-old one. They're identical looking. except that, you know, maybe you can see a little bit more fat on a 5-month one, because that's the other complete extreme, but not much. So remember, guys, when messing with your dwarf stuff or your mainland stuff, you can decide its size. So this is perfect, for instance, pure mainland, 20 eggs. I believe it's her 2nd year, platinum het albino, and she's 4 or 5 years old now. So, and even then, we're breeding them, so we still had to feed a lot of food in order to get eggs, because you're not going to be able to breed an animal feeding them once a week ever. So unless you feed them really big meals, and during breeding season. So peace out, guys. I hope some of that educational stuff will help you, and don't get chewed on by your snakes when you're pulling eggs. Bye.